There we go, we're recording. We are live. Today we're going to talk about fa-chunking.
What'd you just say to me?
Rafi's tips for artists because he loves you.
Hola, you amazing artists. Today we are talking about fa-chunking, which Clea apparently doesn't know what fa-chunking is.
I have some questions right off the bat.
Okay.
Is it related in any way to spelunking?
No.
Does it have anything to do with hurling objects long distances?
No.
Well, I fail to see how it's useful then.
Fa-chunking, for any of you that are like, what the heck is fa-chunking? First off, I made it up. It's my word. That's just the update for today. I want to let you know how my 5-minute thing went. I got to come up with a cool name for it. 5-minute chunking. Fa-chunking.
5 minutes.
Fa-chunking.
Fa-chunk.
Fa-chunking. We're fa-chunking. We'll
A
come up with
working title. You're welcome.
Fa-chunking is something that I use in order to help me stop procrastinating. And of course, in this time right now where things are spending a lot of time inside and you have the choice of either working on said thing or sitting down and binge watching Netflix, fa-chunking may come in handy for you.
I think there's merit in Netflix binge watching as well. Why am I not getting paid to do this?
I'm talking to you. We procrastinate.
Not me.
Yes, we procrastinate a lot. In fact, if there's like a project or a commission or something that we don't want to do, chances are you're going to put it off until the last possible minute.
Last night I fa-chunked some sketches for a ring design.
Very cool.
I was like, let me just fa-chunk this because I think I was putting it off because it's kind of a big commission.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a little scared. It's like when you had a book report in school and you waited till the night before to write the whole thing.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing happened with my book. I gave myself like 6 months to write it. And during those 6 months, I did a lot of research. It's interesting because like everything I'm afraid of is like right in, like, oh, you're afraid of this. You're going to get this. Oh, you've got phlegm. You should just give up. Like all the stuff. But because I'm pushing through it for 5 minutes, for at least 5 minutes, like it's getting me through it. And then I continue for a little while longer.
Isn't it weird how phlegm works? Like you could be perfectly fine and then you're just talking to me and there's no phlegm. But the minute you put a microphone or a camera and turn it on, the phlegm is like, we're here. Phlegm is like that friend who stops by when you don't want them to.
Yeah, exactly. That's who they are.
And they're like, they
Stupid
did
phlegm.
something nice, like they brought you something nice or did something to help you, but you're still kind of annoyed that they're there.
Yeah. Stay at home, phlegm.
Social distancing, phlegm. Who invited you?
Like you're taking this idea that is kind of blurry and then it gets in your brain and off in the background while you're sitting there eating chips.
It's like you're chewing the chips and things are getting jostled around in the brain and they're coming together.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens.
It's actually the jaw motion of chewing the chips that brings the ideas to fruition.
That's where creativity comes from.
Yes, eating chips.
So what is fa-chunking? Fa-chunking. So first of all, you've got the beginning of that, which is the 5-minute rule. So the 5-minute rule is outlined like this. You set a goal to do something that you would otherwise avoid, but you only do it for 5 minutes. And basically at the end of the 5 minutes, if you are like, I hate my life, then you just stop. As long as you get it started and you're doing it for at least 5 minutes, you're probably going to keep going and finish it. Chunking is when you group information and tasks into manageable chunks, sizes, in sequential order where you would do them one after the other. This usually happens when you have like a big giant project. You want to break it down into manageable chunks. So that is what fa-chunking is. 5-minute chunking. Fa-chunking.
So for your listening pleasure, based on this hybrid word, I've come up with a Rafi and Clea definition for fa-chunking.
Perfect. Let's hear it.
Fa-chunking, to chunk fastly and in 5-minute increments. Sentence example. Yea, though the projects be daunting, I intend to fa-chunk the crap turkeys out of this day and each day forth. Thus, I shall emerge victorious and resplendent and getting shit done. Feel free to use it in a sentence as well in your daily practice.
Yeah, I am fa-chunking the crap out of this project that I've been having difficulty with.
I am fa-chunking awesome. Fa-chunking, I think, is my new favorite word.
Fa-chunking?
It kind of sounds like a curse word, but not.
It does. You're fa-chunking right.
It's like the opposite of a curse word. A little bit, though, because it's like it means something productive.
It's productive.
I guess curse words are kind of productive, too.
They are very productive. Like, you know, you could express something like, this is fa-chunking awesome. Or you could be like, I don't like this thing. So you could be like, man, that's fa-chunking bad.
Yeah.
You know, except I wouldn't use fa-chunking. I would use another word.
I think I'm going to use fa-chunking.
Let's get into the steps of fa-chunking. How exactly do you fa-chunk? Because it's not the 5-minute rule, and it's not just chunking. It is fa-chunking.
This is new territory.
This is totally new territory. So in order to fa-chunk properly, the first thing that you do is look at a project that you might be thinking about working on, and then break that down into chunks. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to have all of the chunks laid out. You don't need to have the full sequential order, especially when you're doing something that is creative, like when you're painting or doing something that you've never done before.
And you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to know the steps, but usually you know step number 1. If you're going to work on a painting, you know that you want to either do your base layers, you want to mark it out, you want to do something. So as long as you have step number 1, you are good to go. And that's where you take that chunk and then you apply the 5-minute rule, especially if you have been procrastinating. So you give yourself those 5 minutes to do that one chunk. And basically, if you are doing that chunk and it takes forever to get to the end of the 5 minutes where you're like, I hate this so much.
This is the worst chunk I've ever experienced.
At that point, what you're going to want to do is reevaluate why you're doing that project in the first place. Make sure that you're doing that project because it is something that you actually want to do. A good indicator that it is not something that you actually want to do is if the only reason you're doing it is because you think that you will get a certain outcome. So for example, if you are working on a painting and you think that this particular painting style is what's going to sell, but you're having a really hard time getting through it, chances are you're creating something not because you want to, but because you're expecting a certain outcome. Really, usually what happens is when you start working on something and apply the 5-minute rule, you end up doing it for longer than 5 minutes and enjoying it. And if that's what happens, then when you're done with that chunk, then start on the next chunk. And if you're not sure what the next chunk is, then at that point you determine what the next step is that you need to do and just get started and give yourself 5 minutes to do it.
Yeah, you might find that you're spewing chunks left and right all day.
Whenever you find yourself procrastinating, I think it's because you don't want to do something or you're afraid of some aspect of it. That's the reason that the fa-chunking is working with recording the audiobook, because I think I'm terrified.
I also fa-chunked some organization, which, you know that I like organization.
Man, fa-chunk organization. If you do have a hard time getting through the 5 minutes, that's where you kind of reevaluate. You have to check in with yourself. Like I said, it could be something that you don't want to do, or maybe just in that particular moment, you're like, yeah, you know what? 5 minutes is good enough, but at least you worked on it for 5 minutes. And that's ultimately what matters, is doing just these increments of work and getting it done and working on it when you really want to work on it.
And then giving yourself a high five.
I mean, that's the whole reason you do the fa-chunking. You're not going to get it done in 5 minutes, but at least you got it started. This has been super helpful for me for like really big projects. Like when we did the giant installation, that took 6 months.
Yeah.
If I was thinking about the entire project at once, that would have been completely overwhelming. But essentially what I did was just broke it down into small chunks. Like I knew in order to get started, I have to buy the supplies. And in order to go after that, I need to build the structure. At that point, I was like, well, just 5 minutes, just get it started. Just get this started now. And essentially what ended up happening was I get started on something, and by the time I was done, I already knew what the next chunk was going to be. There were so many days that I was like, oh my God, my entire life is just this project. Like, this is all I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I knew, like, just get 5 minutes, just do 5 minutes today. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, it works awesomely for large projects. And it also works awesomely for menial tasks when I'm like, oh, I've got to report our monthly sales tax. And
Yeah.
I'm like, let me just print out our bank statement.
Got a painting that you're going to get started. You know you need to start the base layer. And you put it off and you put it off and you put it off. And like this way, you just get started just 5 minutes. You know what? I got a base layer to do. I'm just going to do it for 5 minutes. And then you just fa-chunk that mofo. Just 5 minutes to do something. Even if it's cleaning out like, oh God, I don't want to clean out my closet. 5 minutes.
Don't apply it to eating cereal. The cereal will get soggy.
Yeah. It's 5 minutes of eating cereal. Not a good idea. Considering the fact that fa-chunking was like this joke, and then it just turned into, it just sounds right, like fa-chunking. Like,
Yeah.
I am fa-chunking. It is so ridiculous that it causes you to give a double take if somebody else is like, yeah, I'm going to fa-chunk the crap out of that.
I'm fa-chunking and it feels so good.
Despite the fact that it's got the most ridiculous name ever, it is super, super helpful. It has been a huge lifesaver for me when it comes to working on things that maybe I'm avoiding or like procrastinating on, and most likely because I'm scared to do it. That's usually why I procrastinate on a project. Like if I have a commission and it's something that pushes outside of my comfort zone, I tend to have to fa-chunk that fucker.
My closing thoughts are, fa-chunking, it's pretty good. I've used it and it works. And my final closing thoughts are, that Rafi, he really puts the hunk in fa-chunking.
I don't even know what to say after that. I'm just going to walk away and you can do the closing statements. And that's it, you guys. That's all we've got for you today. Hopefully you guys get something out of this. And let me know. I'm interested to know if you've used some form of fa-chunking or if you're planning on using fa-chunking for yourself. I would love to hear the stories. Go ahead and leave those in the comment section below and, discuss amongst yourselves different techniques that you've used for fa-chunking. Let's fa-chunk this thing.
Yeah, share your fa-chunking stories with one another.
Also, you guys, so the podcast, I announced in the other video that the podcast is not going to be taking place on YouTube anymore unless I have footage that I could add to it. But if you look in the description or you go to our website, we do have a podcast section and you can basically listen to the podcast on
Spotify, Apple Music,
Google Podcast,
Podbean,
and on our website itself. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. You guys are absolutely freaking amazing. I totally adore you. And if you like this and you want to watch more like this, just click over here to subscribe. And then you could go to our Patreon page. You could watch the other video, and we have a vlog channel that you could visit as well, and you could go to our podcast.
Basically, you can see our faces in a number of ways.
Yeah, or not see our faces
Or
on
not.
the podcast. And thank you so much, you guys. You guys are freaking awesome. Say goodbye, Clee.
Good day.
Adios.